NOBODIES.
Everything that I do is about soccer.
So you're like laying there after sex and she's like, what are you thinking about, baby? You're like, well, Jerry missed the fucking...
Okay.
Just even getting kicked in the nuts.
There's like ones where they're like jumping to block, so they're like full spread, and it's just like, I mean,
Laser.
they could not cope with the world we lived in, where you literally rank your friends 1 through 8. Who knows if I'll make it, but I won't stop till I do. It's kind of my thing, so I'm like, I guess that might be forever.
Yeah, do or dead.
Do or dead.
That was like the
We're good, bro.
Dude.
Good.
second time.
Yes, second time rolling through.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe that. So we filmed that. Everything felt so good.
Yeah,
and I had like all the light. I had all like the camera set up. I'm like, and I've done it 30 times before. So I'm like, okay, I'm dialed. And I pull in the files and I pull in like that camera's ones. I had a couple files. I pull in that one. I'm like, cool. And then this one, the one facing you.
The one that like, seems to matter a little bit.
Where is it?
Yep.
I was like, where is the thing?
I've been having those issues when I record my videos. So like if I go shoot houses, I'll go through the editing phase, a file will get corrupt, and then it washes the whole set. What? Yeah. So not loving that. And then I have to go refilm the house, re-edit it.
Is it on your phone?
No. So I use I think it's Osmo Pocket. And it's awesome. Shoots everything in HD. I can slow it down. Super high quality. But as soon as I plug it in and I'm editing on CapCut, there's times where the file just completely goes. Just disappears. So, and that will happen if I unplug the camera and I'm like using the files from the camera directly through my computer to edit it. If I forget and don't transfer them to the computer beforehand and just unplug, like eject my camera, gone.
Interesting. So you definitely got to drop all the files on your computer first.
And I've made that mistake like 4 or 5 times, and it's the most annoying thing in the world. 'Cause it's like awesome. Can't wait to do it again.
How do you love CapCut?
Love it. It's the best free software I've ever seen for video editing.
Yeah.
By like a long shot.
And I started using it, especially once I got the computer version. So I use it a little bit. I haven't used it a lot yet. But one of the things that I like about it is, like, dude, they have these amazing transitions, or like, and it's probably not for real estate. It would be like, but it's more like for awesome. Edgy shit.
Yeah, they're all awesome.
But like, I have a professional setup with Premiere.
Yeah.
And they don't have shit.
No,
like, dude, it sucks, man. And I'm like, and then even when I download stuff off, I use not Artlist, but it's one of the other like monthly services that you get all the transitions and stuff like that. And it's so complicated, and the way they organize stuff. I'm like, dude, it's so annoying. I'm like, how does this shitty software over here have way better features in that regard?
Well, and if you pay for it, like I pay for mine so that I can have even more features to use. But I'm not like a video editor guy. Like I took multimedia in high school, did a little bit in college. I understand my way around, so like I can make a dope MySpace. And that's what I feel like I'm doing when I'm making my videos for social media, is like I'm just above the normal person, and I still fail constantly. It pisses me off.
When you had MySpace, did you, when they switched from top 8 to like you could do 16, were you one that kept it simple at like top 8, or did you go like to
no, I went
10 or 12
I
or
went
16?
Full simple. And I was just reading about that on X, and it had me laughing so hard. It was like, what is the new generation? Are they Gen Z right now? I think, for the kids. But they were just saying how they could not cope with the world we lived in, where you literally rank your friends 1 through 8. And if you're like outside top 3, you're like, yeah, man, I'm just a peripheral friend. I'm not even cool.
Did you have to rank the top 8?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I can't remember that.
Your number 1 friend through number 8. And that's just straight brutal. And they were saying how, Joe fucked up today. He just got bumped down to 7.
Oh my God.
And you'd see people change their profile top 8s, and I would laugh so hard. All the dope music, you could land on a sick page, and you're like, that's how I found Kings of Leon. Very first time I ever heard Sex on Fire was on MySpace. And it literally was like my favorite song forever.
I discovered Kesha on MySpace. They were running ads because she would like pop up on the top ad. And then there was that emo artist. He was like a dashboard, but he like would message me. Like he messaged like millions of people personally, like, hey, can you check out? And that's what I did because I learned it from him.
Interesting.
Forget his name, but
for your band?
Well, I was doing a solo project at the time. I just got back from Australia and I had recorded like an acoustic
trying to blow
album. And so you just message people and you basically, as long as you type it out, or like I think you could copy and paste it, you just go to people's profiles like, hey, like I just released this album, check out some tunes. And then people would like, I mean, not everybody, but people were like, oh, look, that guy messaged me. And then, because it was social media was so new.
Did you listen to Hollywood Undead?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
I've heard of them, but
I found them on MySpace too. Because they were it was so funny. I was the most emo, non-emo kid in the world. So like I was super punk rock in the background, but forward facing, I was
still look like a douche.
Still douchey. 100%.
Dude,
literally 100%.
You leaned into the douche as long as I know, and
Forever.
I love it.
Forever. Forever.
I have taken that page out of your book. I have leaned hella into douche in the last, like, 5 years. Yeah.
Forward facing, man.
It works.
But like, I just told my kids about when I was 16 and I had half my head dyed black and the other half bleached. And they were like, what? And then they're like, have you ever had a mohawk? I was like, oh yeah, had a mohawk. But like, I went to high school and I was like sad boy. And it was really funny because I went to Eagle High, grew up in Meridian, like middle and elementary school, and a couple of schools in Boise. And then I went to Eagle and everyone was rich and I was not. And so I was like so into like AFI, The Used, all of them. And I was like trying so hard to be a punk kid because I was like, fuck all the rich kids. I'm gonna be the opposite.
Do rich kids not listen to punk?
They probably do now to fit in.
Yeah.
But probably not back then.
Yeah, punk's kind of like mainstream now again, which is wild.
It makes me happy.
Yeah, it is nice to like see it come back.
Seeing Blink-182 come back made me happy.
Did you see them?
No, but I saw their new album. It's pretty good.
Dude, my buddy Ukiah, his band opened up for Blink.
Just recently?
Yeah, like a couple months ago. And they only did, I think, 3 or 4 dates. Like they didn't do the whole tour.
Still, it must be nice.
He plays with this guy, Petey, and I don't know that much about him, but he used to play for Fires in France. So then he played for a couple other bands. He's playing for this guy, Petey, and Petey is friends with Mark Hoppus. And so they've been kicking it for a couple of years or whatever. And I guess the last tour, they were trying to get him on, but they're like, you don't have a big enough draw. But now PD's getting bigger and bigger. So then they're like, okay, you can, yeah.
That's crazy.
Dude, he was nuts.
So is that how that works in the music scene? I didn't know that. So like if you're the main like show and you have your openers, if you don't have a big draw, they're not even going to give you a chance?
I think it would still depend on the opener because I think there's some people like, I don't care. These are my friends and I want them on. Yeah. Like, I think there are.
Because I've gone to some shows where it felt like that. I was like, your music's cool, but like, I don't even know who you are.
But I do think most labels will be like, hey, we need you to, like, you have to have a band that has this much draw before we'll even consider letting you do it. But like comedians are similar to that. Like some will be like, oh, who can bring more people in? But other people are like, no, these are my friends. I'm just bringing them and it doesn't matter.
So that's like the Adam Sandler gist. Yeah. They're all my friends. Luckily, they're all funny. Yeah. But they do get to be in the movies.
Yeah,
Interesting.
It is crazy. Yeah, because I was listening to Rogan talk about how when he was touring, when he was like younger coming up, he was still already successful, but he wasn't doing like arenas, but he would have, there's like the big dude from Jersey or whatever. He would have him on and coming around. He's like, yeah, I just want to bring my friends and have fun. He's like, I used to just have like local openers. He's like, it sucked because
I don't even know him.
Yeah, even though the locals will bring the draw for like the local scene, but he's like, dude, but I don't know him. It's not fun. Yeah. And then so I started bringing my friends and it was like way more fun because we're all hanging out the whole time. And Joey Diaz, but he's like, Joey Diaz was on coke, so like he would just not show up sometimes. So I started bringing a third friend in case Joey wouldn't show up.
Or Joey's just passed out in the corner of the hotel room. Jesus.
But yeah, because man, we just went to see 21 Pilots, and the band that opened for them I had never heard of.
Were they good though?
They were decent. Like they weren't bad. Like they definitely had like a good vibe and stuff. I just said like,
what's your biggest show?
that I've been to.
No, that you did.
Oh, Knitting Factory, I would say.
That's so big.
We opened up for what's that band called? They have that song, Hot Shell Ray. So we're going at it tonight.
Yeah.
And
that's funny. I haven't heard that name in a long time.
Yeah, they had like 2 hits and then disappeared. But the day before, we got a message from Eric Gilbert, and we were supposed to have band practice that day, and we hadn't played in like a couple of weeks. And he's like, "Hey, I have an opening. Do you guys want to open up for Hot Shell Ray?" And we were just like, I'm like, we can't turn this down. It's a sold out show at the Knit.
Hope it works.
But we don't. We were supposed to practice. We haven't practiced. We're like, fuck it. And so
And you went full send.
Yeah,
you did it.
Yeah.
How'd you do?
I think we did okay. I remember I got too drunk before the show because back then I used to do like 4 whiskey shots, like just that.
Were you nervous?
Well, that was like my sweet spot. So I'd do 4 shots of Jack. We were drinking bottles of Jack in the van. And we would do 4 shots, or I would do 4 shots because that was my sweet spot. If I had any more, I would get sloppy. Yeah. If I had any less, I'd be nervous. So I had this like.
Do you think that's why people drink and do drugs before they perform?
At least that's how you start. I mean, that's what I did.
Crazy.
But it helped, because like a little bit of liquid courage gives you that, like you're not thinking, you're not like overthinking and being all a little like weird. So then you get timid. You get timid. You don't talk, weird, whatever. Yeah. So like if I got that sweet spot, then I would talk, in between songs. That'd be funny. Like we're like bantering, all that stuff. But if I had too many, then I'd start getting sloppy and I'd be like, oh fuck, I'm missing some like notes and shit. And that day we had ordered like some food and the food didn't come. And then we had another drink or something. And I was definitely a little too drunk. And I was up there and then my amp stopped working. And we're like, hold on. It was like 3 songs in, trying a different guitar, tried a different amp, like couldn't figure it out. And so then I just eventually just played piano because I was playing piano and guitar. Yeah. And so then I had to just fit like all the songs that I was supposed to play on guitar. I was like, I'm just going to play piano. And I like had to figure that out on the fly. And that was pretty wild. But
how many instruments can you play?
Mainly 2. I've played a couple, I've played drums, but I'm not great.
But you can carry a tune.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I can play bass. Bass is...
Did you grow up like always playing instruments?
I grew up playing piano, and so that helps a lot. And then I started playing guitar.
Why does piano help? Because I've heard that from a few different people.
You learn rhythm. You learn how to do 2 things at once, like right hand, left hand. So then that helps with doing 2 things on a guitar. Like this and this.
2 drum hands. Carrying different
and
rhythms.
Then so having the rhythm helps, so you don't have to like learn rhythm, you already know it. You also know like theory a bit more with piano, so you know what makes a chord, the notes in between, the scales, so then that kind of translates on a lot of other instruments. I think. I
like this podcast. This one's interesting that we're on. We're on good tangents. I like these.
Dude, second time's a charm, I hope.
Because last time you talked so much about me and I was like, well, let's talk about you. Because you're on the way up too.
We still got to talk about you too.
We'll talk about me. But no, that's crazy that you've been on a big show. Because that's big to me. I don't know anybody that's played at the Knitting Factory.
That was huge.
That's crazy.
That was big for me.
Yeah.
I was talking to my buddy Paul. He does he's a photographer and he does he worked for UFC and Olympics and stuff, but he like runs cable, he sets up stuff, or he started as running cable. He's a little higher up. He's like a manager. He sets up like a team. Yeah. And then when the event goes live, he just color grades like certain cameras. So
is that happening while it's live?
Yeah. So he's like in charge of like 4 or 5 or 6 something like cameras. So there's still a cameraman. Yeah. And then he's like making sure the colors are all corrected in the truck. So they have that like big truck outside with all the cables running out, and then they monitor all the screens. So he's in charge of that.
I was wondering what those were for, because I'll see them at sporting events and everything.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have like 3 or 4 trucks if it's like huge.
And that's what they're doing. So they're monitoring audio, monitoring the video, making sure cameras are not like blanking out or glitching.
Yeah. And then you have like the one main guy who's going to switch the cameras. Like, so if it's a football game, he's like, go to camera this, go to this, go to this. And so they're all going at the same time, but he's watching the cameras and he's like, okay, go there, go there, go there. But then Paul is just in charge of making the colors look right, because, this like it just got sunny. So then the color needs to change. And so he's adjusting that. But he goes,
he's working on big stuff then. If he was doing UFC and Olympics.
Yeah, he does a lot of like, he works for like ABC and NBC. He's like contracts out and stuff.
That's so cool.
But he was saying, he's like, dude, I've been an artist my whole life, but I've never like done performance art. He's like, so when I see these guys at UFC and like, he's like, that would be so cool to be in the center and everyone's cheering for you. Like, that's nuts. And I was like, yeah, I guess the biggest thing I've had was the knit. Yeah. But, you know, you finish and everyone's like, and I was like, thank you so much. And you're like, whoa.
Well, and it's probably, I bet you, unless you're in a solo sport, I think that's probably the only one that could beat that. Yeah. Because like when you're in a band, you're still smaller than a professional team. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, and he said he was like, I did wrestling in high school, but he's like, but when we did tournaments, there's so many people and there's so many wrestling matches. There was never like everyone was there for me. It was just like, oh, cool, you won, good job. You know, he's like, so I never had that like really glamorized feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be intense. I even find it weird, like when I'm at the game and then photographers will take photos of me. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I literally just told them what to do and I'm hoping they do it. Like, just keep the camera on the team.
Have you got the ice on your back yet?
What do you mean?
Like when they dump, is that just football?
No. So that would 100% happen if we had won a tournament. Okay. We've come so close. Because you don't do
it like on a, like just regular game. No. It's like on a big.
No, it's got to be something big and like memorable. I have a good team this year. It could happen. Yeah. But
if you want after this, I'll dump some ice and water.
That'll be great. Make me feel like I'm big time. Yes. Well, and it's funny too because we've come, like we've had 2 tournaments we almost won. We were finalists in both. And so that's just annoying when you don't win and you take second. It's like, man, made it all the way there. So I'm waiting for my big ice moment, dude. Yeah. That time will come. That time will come. But I got to be humble and be patient. We won our first game this week. That was badass. Season opener.
This is BSU.
Yep. So we played TVCC and they're Treasure Valley Community College. So we're one of their preseason games. We're one of theirs, or they're one of ours. And we were looking at their record. I think they had tied their first 2 games. I was like, okay, they can play. They're playing like, because they play good teams in their conference, even though they're only 2-year schools versus 4. But I was like, okay, this is going to be like a hard game. And then we went 0-2 down, got scored on twice. And I was like, I'm not pumped right now. At halftime, I was like, this sucks. Scored another goal right before halftime for us. So then it was 1-2. And then we ended up like just kicking their ass and it was 4-2.
Oh, shit.
So like 3 goals in the second half. Could have been 5. We missed a penalty kick and I was pissed.
What?
Yeah. But we had this player, his name's Jerry, and he's a freshman. And
shout out Jerry.
What up, Jerry? Jerry's pretty good. And he had 2 goals. And we're like, oh, we got a penalty kick. Let's have him take it so he can get his 3rd goal and get a hat trick. Yeah. And he's a freshman. And he shit the bed. And he just sent it. And I was like, dude, Jerry, buddy, you had the chance. It was a free goal for you.
When people...
That's a zoned in moment. Yeah. Everyone's watching him.
I never got to take a penalty. Did I? I don't think I did. But we all practiced them.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's just and my buddy John would always take most of our penalties. Yeah. And I swear, half of them, it would just be like, boom. Yep. And I'm like, bro, we practice, like, keep your foot, like, like, don't hit it so hard. Like, all you need to do is placement. You don't need power. No. Like, you really don't. Like, I mean, of course it needs to.
You got to have a little zip,
but like, dude, and every time, you're like, bah! I'm like, Jesus.
Yep. Yeah, it was one of those moments. And Jerry, I mean, he's legitimately so good.
Yeah.
So I know that moment, he would do anything in his life to get it back. Because it's the very first college game playing.
And he'll fix it next time.
Oh, yeah. He'll probably never miss another one.
Yeah.
But it was funny because our team captain, he's a senior, and he takes all of our penalty kicks. And everyone from the sideline, like all the guys on the bench, are like, let Jerry take it. He's on a hat trick. Let him get it.
Yeah.
And Nick's looking at everybody like, shut up. Like, nobody takes the penalties but me because he doesn't miss them. Right. And so he walks over, he hands it to Jerry in like a good, nice moment. I was like, all right, kid, this is your moment. And Nick just turns and looks back at me and he was like, damn it.
At least it wasn't like to make the game, you know?
Yeah, if that was a game deciding penalty, I would have been a little bit more upset. But it was good. I keep telling my wife, I'm like, I can't get too excited with them because if I do, then we're just gonna crash.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you guys are all right.
Yeah. What's that Gary V thing he says? Like, I don't let compliments get me too up. I don't let then I don't let the negatives get me too down. Just kind of ride and be like, oh, you're so amazing. Oh, cool, thanks, man.
Yep. Literally.
Next.
Right over. Not gonna have that one. Well, and I had to tell them after the game because they were all like, obviously they're pumped. First game of the season, they come out and win after being 2 goals down and like dominant win. And so that felt good. But I just like told them in the huddle, I'm like, this is great. It literally doesn't mean anything. We have so many games to go. So like you can enjoy it tonight, forget about tomorrow. We've got to move on. And we got another game tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes. The smoke outside is killing it. So we might have to play an indoor game, which I'm not loving.
Oh yeah, that's a way different game. You want more coffee?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, what were we talking about? Soccer, goals, expected. I don't know.
I don't know.
Shitting on Momo. Fucking bitch.
Just scratching everything up.
He was checking out the couch. He's like, I like the couch.
Yep.
And then I was like, yeah, except fucking cats just ripped it to shreds.
Yeah, I've had a few different cats and watching them literally just dig into things over and over. I'm like, you could stop at any time.
Yeah, Russell never went for that couch, so it was totally fine. I mean, he goes for the other couches. He goes for the shit like this. That chair is pretty beat up.
Is it? Oh yeah.
He'll go for this. I have that fuchsia couch in my garage. He likes the starts to go for that. Dude, I'm like, dude, if you fuck this one up, I swear to Christ. But I have been pretty good at keeping his nails clipped, but Momo has the sharpest nails ever, and he loves the leather.
Well, he goes all the way in.
Yeah.
Like those are deep.
Yeah.
Deep.
Dude, the whole like podcast thing, like, so this is the first one back, and you were the first one back the last time, which had been, it was like, I think it was March the last time I filmed one, or maybe April, because I filmed Eric Gilbert.
Yeah, because when did we do ours?
Tree Fort guy, and I think we did ours in June.
Yeah.
And then I get to it like a couple weeks later, and it's fucked.
Toasted.
And then I got this big video gig, and then I started bartending again. Yeah. I was like, dude, I just do not have time. Like, how do I, oh my God.
How do I make this work?
And that's the thing that, I mean, you're doing two things, like two main, well, you have families that like, okay, we're going to see how it goes.
Live, bro. Live. So yeah, you were saying 3 jobs.
Yeah, dude. So I had yours in, I think, May or June. And then I hadn't recorded anything else. And there was this other guy I recorded, his name's Gary. And I thought did a good one on that. And I was going to release that when I finally started working on shit again. And then I found out I fucked up one of the audios on that. I was like, God damn it.
It's just not working for you.
Yeah. So I've really only released like 2 or 3 this year. And I'm like, I should be doing once a week.
Yeah. 100%.
But getting my money right, getting, back, like getting a little consistent income, bartending. And then I got this big video project, which is great. It's more money, but then it was just like all my time. And so that's kind of coming to a close.
And that's with the insurance?
Yeah, the insurance company. He, the guy who does he's like doing all the talking head stuff. He's a Meridian basketball coach.
Yeah.
And we were joking about him because he's like, just imagine him angry in the locker room. He's this big old dude. Oh yeah. And I mean, he's pretty gentle with us, but like you can tell when he gets frustrated, you're like, oh, he has a side that will snap. And you're like, dude, I would be scared to be in a locker room down at half with him, man. Holy shit.
It won't help you. It will not help.
But yeah, so I picked up, I guess, like too many shifts. So I was like super busy. So then I dropped my Friday just so I can do this. So I was like, okay, I have to take a personal day for my shit. Yeah. And the guy I work with, Michael, I'm learning so much. And he's the one who's like, it's like, get rid of your Instagram shit. Yeah. he's like, if one of the people we work with sees this, like they're not going to work with us. And I was like, yeah, but that's the direction I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of been a like decision-making process where I'm like, which way do I want to go? Do I want to go professional media?
Yeah.
And
get rid of your Instagram shit. We're not doing that.
He's like,
well, you don't say.
He's like, you're talking about drugs and like strippers and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's like, even your Israel-Palestine shit, like you can't be talking political. And I'm like, dude, what?
So that's the funny thing about our world right now. All that's true.
Yeah.
That's all true statements.
Right. Yeah. Like it's not like I disagree with what he's saying.
What sucks is that's also the world we're in right now.
Yeah.
Where you can't vocalize an opinion, period. So like for me, I mean, I live in that world.
Right.
I'm not PC by any means. I would definitely say I'm 100% try to toe the line, but I'm not going to voice my opinions about anything, period. So
this is very interesting to me because he was saying, like, he's like, for example, my kids are in basketball and they are saying, like, you need to be careful, like, you don't like anything controversial. Mm-hmm. He's like, because when you go to college, they have people that scrub this shit.
They do. Scrub it all.
And so, like, if you liked something that was not PC or whatever, like, that can affect, you know, like, that's going to bite you.
I'll scroll through and I'm like, interesting. Yeah. Skip.
Dying laughing. Don't like it all.
Next.
So, but I do think that there is that world, and then there still is another world, and it's more artists, comedians, whatever, that people get away with it. Like the people that get canceled but don't. Yeah. You know, it's like the Dave Chappelle, and maybe it's just like the comedian world that I'm like surrounded by, because I'm like, well, I'm not going into politics.
Yeah.
But I do understand, like, yes, if I went the professional route, you have to just pull back all opinions. You can't say anything, but that's not the person I want to be.
No.
And I'm not chasing a path that I feel like needs that versus, you know, like all the podcasters that I listen to, even people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, who are still like mainstream. They're like, no, fuck you. I'm going to say what I want. I'm going to talk about the powers that be, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And Michael was saying, he's like, yeah, but people like that get away with it because they have fuck you money. They don't care. I'm like, you don't. I'm like, yeah, but I could still always bartend. I just won't get like, I do understand. I'm not going to get some government contract because they're like, oh, this guy, you know, whatever his belief is.
Well, and I mean, dude, all of that sucks because you should be allowed to say, like, do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
However, you'll be judged. I have teenage children who I have to remind this to all the time. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's not factual, and it will hamper your life. So what direction you want to go, make choices and interactions that lead in that path. If you don't get to have that life. You got to find a different route.
Right.
And a lot of times the different route is the longer route. But once you're there and you do have fuck you money, it's fuck you. I'm going to say what I want.
Well, and so him bringing that up then I spent another couple weeks thinking about it. We still have a chat about like where I want to go. Unless you see
a trash can in here.
No.
Hold on.
Just throw it at the couch.
Throw it on the couch.
So I think this is like a conversation that will continually need to be had for people like deciding the direction they're going. I'm like, well, that just made me think like, okay, you really need to dial in what you want, because because if I pick that path, then I would have to censor everything I do on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because that's found. And then all the clips that I make or whatever would be a lot less interesting / funny. Like half my shit is definitely over the line on some way or another, right? Yeah. Not everything, but like there is a lot that I can't put out there for virality or whatever. So I'm like, so then I'm more tame. So it's going to take longer to do that. And I'm going to be stuck. Oh, well, now I can get all these contracts, but then what am I doing in 5 years?
Yeah.
I'm working for an agency doing video
that I'm mad about.
Yeah. So like, is that my path? And ultimately I'm like, dude, that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to talk. I want to be me. So I might have to not get some really high paying gigs.
Yeah.
and keep bar. Like I can say what I want at a bar, like, but I might have to keep doing that for a little longer, but at least then I'm doing what I want. But like, fuck if I know if that's going to work out. Right.
Yeah.
But, and like Rogan, for example, he talked about when he was coming up and he was a nobody, and they're like, dude, you have to have clean comedy. Yeah. And he tried a couple gigs. He's like, dude, fuck this. Yeah, I can't. Like, this isn't me. And he's like, yeah, I probably could have been successful faster if I did. So I get these things, but he's like, I hated it. Yeah. And so he's like, so would you rather be successful faster and hate the journey?
Or like what you do and like yourself?
Yeah, exactly. And so I was just, You
know what's most annoying about all of that? Is the whole time we're sitting here, I'm just thinking to myself, that is such trash because everybody is vile. Mm. Everybody is vulgar. And so even the best of the best, they have their moments where they're human. And in order for you to censor yourself as a human is just crazy. Yeah. Like it genuinely is crazy to me when you think about it in general. Because everybody finds that funny. Yeah. Where I see the most allowed to be vulgar is TikTok. Mm. There's a realtor that I follow, and he's a Hispanic guy who's super funny, but he goes into every house and he is not dressed up. He is vulgar. He's talking about banging chicks in the master closet, and it's like hundreds of thousands of views. And everybody's laughing and commenting. And I'm sitting there going, if I said anything like that in one of my videos, that's like, no, done. Right. There's no way I could ever say anything like that publicly. Well, especially not like you've already picked the lane. Yeah. You know, like, so if he picked that lane early, he's like, okay, I'm just going this way. That's his only lane. And that's kind of how I, like, when I started the podcast and started this stuff, I'm like putting, like, I mean, dude, even pressing upload on some of the videos I've done, I'm like, dude, I don't know if I should do this. And like my buddy Tyler's a real estate agent, and he said, he's like, yeah, that's why I get clientele at bars, because I don't want to censor myself. He's not really on socials that much, but he's still like, yeah, I hang out at bars because like, but I have people in my agency that they're focused on Mormons. So they don't go to bars. Yeah. They go to church. Yeah. It's like, that's not me. Like, I'm over here. I'm more riffraff. He's more this. And so I do think that you can like have those other lanes, but you are going to give up these people. You do. But you are going to potentially attract other people. Like, dude, I like this guy. He's raw. He's real. And in business, that's what you're supposed to do, though. From every mentor I've had is work with the people that like you. Yeah. You'll be much happier. Yeah. If you work with people that don't like you and you make a lot of money, that money is in vain and you're pissed off. And I have had people I've worked with that I hate who just treated me so grody. And I'm like, not going to do that again. And what sucks is there's times where you do have to do it again because you need the money. Right. And that's a bummer. Because then you're like, okay, I'm going to be completely someone different for this whole entire process. I'm going to be great at my job, and I'm not going to do anything that's like counterproductive to my client's success, but I don't get to be myself for the whole time. Right. And that's a bummer. And so, yeah, that's why when I was sitting there listening to you, I'm just like, man, even those people that I hated working with, I know that deep down in their group of friends and family, they're really funny. Yeah. And they don't ever let the public see that. And I'm like, you should let the people see that. Right. And it would be nice if everybody did, but it would be incredible. We don't have that. But we don't have that. It's just so sad way to put. We don't have that. Like Michael will say, like, I mean, he's from working in Hollywood, so like, there's definitely regimented stuff. So I was like, so you like, you're a Trump fan, but you couldn't publicly say that. No. Because that's anti the narrative. And he's like, yeah, for sure. He's like, I can never chirp publicly about like, I like Trump or something. Why is it that you're not allowed to say that you like Trump, but you can be like, I love Kamala? Because it's just like so that's where that's another reason why I'm like, I can't go down this path, because those paths shift. Like
in this era, it could be, oh yeah, like we're all like pro this one issue. And so if you say something against it, we're like, we're not going to work with you. But then fast forward 5 years later and it could shift, like public opinion shifts or whatever. And then, so then you're like, oh, now you're like, oh, so now you're literally, what do they call the sports bandwagoner? You know, like I don't want, like, I can't do that.
Yeah. Just ride your own wagon, bro.
And I've always been a contrarian anyway. Like
You're very...
I'm like, dude, do I shut all that down just for what, a couple more gigs?
Yeah.
To sit there and be editing a bunch more insurance commercials. Like, well, I mean, it's great. It's good money and it's fine. It's not like terrible, but it's not what I want to do long term. Like, so
you probably feel like you're my hidden friend that I can't bring in public.
Dude.
Like I was thinking about that.
I have this.
Don't take him anywhere. He'll be a good time, but don't bring him.
I have this wedding coming up, and my buddy, I'm his best man.
Yeah.
And they won't let me do a speech. And I was like, bro, I'm not gonna throw you under the bus.
I promise I'll be clean.
And I was just like, I'm like, dude, do you think I'm gonna talk about like the girls you fucked before, like in front of your family? I'm not that bad.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
But he's like, you can give your speech during the rehearsal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
My best friend has like so much dirt on me, and it would be really hard now, especially if I had like a big wedding. I'd be like, I'm going to need you to tone it back just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm really going to need you to tone it back. Otherwise you can't speak. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like obviously with my
mosquito bites, bro. Sorry.
When did you get them?
Like 3 days ago. Now they're just driving me crazy.
Were you like golfing?
And just getting eaten alive.
Dude, there's way more mosquitoes this year, huh?
Yeah, I hate it. It's pissing me off.
Is it just because of the wet spring, you think?
Probably.
Because there's way more flies too. There's like flies everywhere.
I hate the flies.
Yeah.
I literally hate the flies.
I've never really heard anyone being like, I love mosquitoes.
No. Well, and I always get tripped out because we live in a van down by the river. But we literally live by the fucking river, and there's mosquitoes all in that whole area. And I'll get these little notifications on like the Nextdoor app, I think is what it's called. But it's like, West Nile virus found in mosquitoes in Southeast Boise. And I'm like, solid. Love hearing that. Love
is that actually this year?
Mm-hmm. It's every year.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
But
they go out by Lake Lowell.
But it doesn't transfer or something. Because we've never had an outbreak.
We don't have outbreaks, but people do get it every year here.
Okay.
Which sucks. Like genuinely sucks.
Huh. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it's a bummer. You didn't know this. They have mosquito abatement trucks that go through neighborhoods at like 3 a.m. and people's Ring cameras, they'll like post and be like, saw this weird van spraying fumes into my street. And I'm like, what? And it'll be like this video. And it's like, it looks creepy because it's the middle of the night and the yellow lights are like flashing like, psh, and it's like
tinfoil hatters are like, dude,
yeah. Tinfoil hatters are losing their mind.
Yeah, they're like, what is the government doing to us?
Yeah.
Man.
But that's what they're doing. They're out there spraying stupid mosquitoes up there.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Man, I try not to get too conspiracy theory-esque ever, but I've been listening to a few lately. I'm just like, man, what a bummer. That does sound legit.
There's a few that are out there. And what's disappointing is at the core, everyone knows that a lot of it's true.
Yeah. Well, there's like, even at a general sense, like, for example, I've been like listening to people talk about deep state / like people who want to like, why are they pushing a certain narrative? Oh, they don't want the populace to do this or this. That's why they do this or this. And there's like a lot of generic stuff, but at its core, I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I can see that being true because since the dawn of time, every government, they want to keep their power. Yeah, 100%. And they don't want their people to revolt, but they don't care about the people. They like that we just need them satisfied enough.
And working.
Yeah, like that's one of the ones where I think like, oh, they're trying to get rid of the population. I'm like, that doesn't really make sense because you need workers like that. So that just didn't logically make sense that they're like, oh, they're trying to get rid of
humans.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, we need them to be workers unless you already have the robots, I guess. But.
Yeah. I don't think It's kind of funny. I don't think that the government in general, like whatever, how do I put that? Like they would fuck us up if they needed to, but I don't think that they would.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I'm like, that just seems like such a far stretch.
Yeah.
But lying about aliens and shit, I'm like, I feel like there's aliens. I feel like there's got to be other stuff out there.
I feel like,
and that makes me sound like a tinfoil hat wearer. But I'm just like,
but is it as much anymore? I feel like that's another, like, I feel like the conversation has changed when people are like, yeah, I think there's aliens.
I've always wondered the concept though, if you only look at the alien piece, I sit there and go, why does the government, if they knew it, if they were real and everything, why wouldn't they assume that people could handle that truth? I'm like, it just seems so weird. Why would you get to decide what we can handle? That doesn't make any sense to me. And they're like, well, mass panic. And I'm like, what mass panic?
Yeah, what are we gonna do?
We all think that there's aliens. Like, there's a lot of people that think that.
In our yards,
like we're just gonna lose our minds and we're both against the government.
51.
I just am like, I don't quite understand that.
Have you ever listened to or watched Y-Files on YouTube?
I haven't heard of it.
It's a little conspiracy-esque, but this guy is like very well-spoken. He just breaks down different subject matter, but he talks about like his hidden secrets of Antarctica, and that's like supposedly very alien centric. But like the things that he explains, you're like, whoa. You're like, why is there a treaty between 15 different world powers that say there's a no-fly zone there that no one can fly over?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, me neither till I watched this. And he's like, yeah, no one's allowed to fly over there. They'll gun you down, basically.
Crazy.
And he's like, so what is out there? Why is it so secret? And then they have these like little reports of different people who have been, and they found these caverns and these pyramids. And you're like, what?
Okay, that's kind of wild.
But it's a pretty interesting show. And he just does like 20-minute episodes on YouTube or 30. But
yeah, that kind of stuff, all of that seems weird. I was talking to a military person to kind of like go in a different direction about kind of like superheroes. Like I consider like CIA operatives to be like superheroes like Jason Bourne. Yeah. And I was asking these people and they were like, that's not how it works. Like just period. And I was like, so like you couldn't be super smart at a university and like very athletic and strong, and they're gonna be like, you would be a prime person, let's test you and see if we could mold you. And they're like, it's literally not how it works. Yeah. And I was like, man, I thought all of the FBI and CIA like had ways. I was like, cause I've been waiting for someone to tap me on the shoulder and be like, you're pretty dope, dude. You want to be an assassin?
Basically, you are not a superhero.
I'm not. Like I'm not what they're looking for. But I legit thought that was a thing. I was like, special forces in the military, great recruitment pool, but also you just need the normal people to be spies who look normal and can be forgettable as soon as they're in a room. And I was like, no, like it's literally not like that.
We do watch too much television probably.
Yes.
But also like I do get a little suspicious. I mean, this is where I probably listen to too much tinfoil hat on like CIA and shit. But I mean, like take for example, Trump's attempted assassination. And so you're like, I mean, that hasn't happened since what, Reagan in 89. So, I mean, it's been like 30 years, right?
Yeah.
And there is like, so there's this feeling where they're like, oh, they tried to get him with Russiagate. Turned out to be all lies or whatever. Yeah. Then they tried to get him with, like all the lawsuits, whatever. And there's just like not a lot sticking. Yeah. So it's like, then they tried to kill him, and like you could say like maybe it was a lone operative, but like why didn't the Secret Service stop the guy who everyone's like he has a gun like for an hour and a half? Like so there's all these questions. You're like, yeah, why didn't they? Yeah. But then like when
they could see him,
he seems to be pretty shook where he's just like, like if I just be like, what's happening? Why didn't the Secret Service do that? Well, those are the guys that are still protecting you. So like, what are you going to do? So he's like, thanks to the Secret Service. He's like, oh shit. I'm like, is he scared to go out in public now? I would be.
Well, and what was crazy is he went golfing the next day with a bandage on his ear.
It's nuts.
So I think like Trump's a G. Like you just got shot in the head, bro.
I know. Yeah. I think so too. I mean, dude, I can't imagine getting shot at and then being like, all right, I'm going to go outside.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, what?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
And then he was, I mean, if I remember correctly, the timeline, he was back at a rally like in 4 or 5 days too. Yeah. And I was like,
I think
dude, you're going to go right back into the same environment.
Surrounding him now, that one. But yeah, and I'm like, you're like, okay, so do I trust the Secret Service to not a fuck up, or was it a fuck up in the first place? Or like, oh shit, well, we just need to get another guy, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that would all be in my head if I was getting
shot at.
Yeah, exactly.
In the head.
Dude, when I was a kid, I was playing piano. I was like practicing, and we had all these windows to the right. We had this door and then a couple windows, and the door had windows. And I was just playing, and my sister was outside mowing, and I hear this bang and this crack in the glass. I was like, whack. And I look over, and there's a hole, and there's like spider glass
shattered
out.
up.
And I thought somebody was shooting at me, and I dropped to the floor off the piano. I was like, holy shit.
It was a flicked up rock.
Yeah.
But you're like, I'm getting shot at.
Well, and to be fair, like, even if I wasn't getting shot at, there is like a bunch of woods on either side of our house, and there's hunters all the time. So it's like, oh, somebody was like shooting at a deer, but like just it hit. And so I was just like on the floor, like,
yeah, I would not feel safe in that moment at all.
Yeah. And then,
it's even like living on a golf course. When a golf ball comes flying through, like it's just a peaceful Sunday, and then it's like, wham, straight through your living room.
Has that happened?
I've hit a couple houses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've only broken
What do you
window.
do in that situation?
You got to let them know. You can't be a piece of shit. Yeah. I've seen people hit a house and then continue to play through without stopping. And then the neighbor comes out when it's my turn on there. And I'm like, it's the group in front.
Yeah.
They hit your house.
Yeah. I was, my ex-girlfriend, her dad lived on a golf course, and they had like certain areas where they have like nets or whatever, like, but there's still other areas where it's just.
Well, and if someone has a horrific shot, like every time I have hit a house, I've sliced my ball so bad. So it's like bending around the net straight into the house. And you're like,
it's like some of those baseball hits when they hit it and it just nicks and it goes flying backwards.
I always feel like someone's going to die in that scenario. Like the umpire. I don't know. We've seen him just get blasted in the face. Yeah.
Just even getting kicked in the nuts with the soccer ball is enough to.
I was watching a video the other day of like just horrific nut shots, and it was terrible.
Really? Just
so bad. There's like ones where they're like jumping to blocks, so they're like full spread, and it's just like, I mean, I'm not a pro soccer player, and when I had mine like measured at the speed, I can hit it at 85 miles an hour.
Oof.
So I'm like full spread right in a full hard shot by a pro player. That's like 90 to 100.
Yeah.
With a ball. It was like cannonball.
You're just like, stop faking it.
Get up.
Dude, do you feel that soccer has become more pussified as far as like pro, like flops? Because I don't remember it being this way 30 years ago when I was watching like younger, or maybe 25. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just like the way I perceive it.
No, it was the sport itself. When you have a player that is an asset, when you have a paid like player, they're worth $60 million to $100 million. You don't want someone coming in there as hard as they can to break a leg. Right. Whereas 80s, 90s, even a little bit into the early 2000s, a lot of stuff was allowed to like happen. Mm-hmm. If you go back and look at, I mean, just old English games, they're like scissor tackling each other, like double fucking legs. And you're like, dude didn't even go for the ball. That was straight, I'm going to try and break your knee. Like, and what's crazy is those players are 1,000 times tougher than the guys that we have, because they would get up and play.
Right.
And guys now, they're like, roll their ankle and they're like, and then you just see them step off and you're like, it's a rolled ankle, bro. Yeah. Just keep playing. But when you're worth $60 million,
you got to protect it.
Yeah, because you gotta prolong like just the longevity of a player for that amount of money.
Yeah, because basketball's gotten a little like less intense, softer, I guess is the word. Yeah,
but I think just the refs they're much more likely to protect players, even in football. Like the quarterback, you can't come break his back and snap him in half like you used to be able to. I would watch linebackers just kill dudes. Yeah. And you're like, one, how did he get up and keep playing? Two, how the fuck did he get up? Like, you literally just got crunched from two dudes. And yeah, like, so I think it's good it loses a little bit of entertainment value though.
Right.
Because it's not like Gladiators.
And that's why your average like viewer gets more and more like, 'cause I work at a sports bar. People are like, God, these pussies these days, you know, like blah, blah, blah. I can't believe they're called that.
Especially if they're older. Like if they're in our demographic, we watch the games of every sport that were way more violent. Right, just way more. Now, you know, you have to be, if you're going to play with violence and use it, you have to be very good and like very talented. Like I even had a tackle on our game on Wednesday where my player blew a dude up, but he got all ball, and the way he hit the player was like ball through the player. And the dude, I mean, he flipped like 3 times and just went tumbling because he's at full sprint. My guy's at full sprint. And I knew my dude wasn't backing out of that tackle. And the ball like went long because he had like a long touch. So it was like a 5-foot race to that ball. And my dude was just like, boom, and killed the kid. And he's just like laying there. He's like, ah. And it was a completely clean tackle, like completely clean. No way. And so my dude just gets up. We keep dribbling. And that player's just left laying there in a puddle, like just dead, dead and totally legal. So like those I love because that's fully clean. Whereas like if I come at you like just fucking cleans up 2-foot you, like that's not that cool. I'm not impressed by that. Yeah. So it does, like the violence is there. You just have to be good. Like you have to be sure you're gonna get there. Right. Because when you do genuinely hurt someone, like I have a player on my team. His name's John. Shout out John. But I love him, and he's a senior this year. I only got him through freshman year, and I got him in senior year. He blew his knee out in the last game of freshman year, and it was horrific, like just terrible. I went through that same injury, and him and I almost had the same injury, which was crazy because I haven't heard of people having the type that we did. And I mean, I just felt so bad for him instantly because I was 8 feet away from him when he went into that tackle. So it happened right in front of me, and it sucked because the kid that took him out didn't mean to do that, like at all. Literally didn't mean to. It was just a freak accident, and you just feel so bad. Yeah. Whereas like the one at the game this week, like the kid eventually did get up and was able to play, had to wait like 5 minutes to like, that stung a bit, but like that's way cooler than hurting somebody. And so, yeah, the game's definitely different.
I feel too with like once they discovered CTE and all that shit, like that changed football. Yeah. Maybe soccer. I don't know. But.
It is like now parents are terrified to have their kids head the ball. We just had a player on my favorite team, United, who literally told his kid in a public interview, I don't let my kid head the soccer ball. And we're like, dude, you're worth $40 million. You've won like 5 Champions Leagues. You have one of the best defenders in the world who's paid to head the ball out of the air and not let goals happen. And he was like, yeah, and it's messed me up. So I tell my kid, you're not allowed to head the ball. You got to let it bounce or try and win it before it bounces. And I was like, what horrible advice to give to a child player. Don't head the ball. That's part of the game. But people genuinely are more cognizant of brain damage. Yeah. And if you head the ball wrong.
Except for the ones that head the ball, they're not cognizant.
No, they're not. Especially if they're hitting an 80-mile-an-hour ball. Like those are crazy. But it's funny. I mean, you played soccer a little bit, and I know you've headed the ball on the top of your head, and it hurts so bad. Dude, it does. And you're like, ow. And so if you head the ball on your forehead and you hit it right, it doesn't really hurt and it doesn't jar your head. You had the ball on top of your head. Yeah. Especially when you're not good, you're just trying to get anything on it. So as you're coming up in high school, that's definitely dangerous.
Dude, those like when they what do they call that when the goalie clears it out upfield? So it's just like 50 feet and comes out, and you like go to head it and you hit the wrong spot. You're like, fuck.
And it feels like you almost get knocked out. Like those are dangerous for everybody, adults and kids. And so, I mean, all the things they do, though, they take the entertainment value out of everything.
Yeah, that's true. I gotta piss.
Oh, there it is. Assholes live forever.
Yeah, do you see what it says?
This candle when you want to blow job.
My buddy David gave me that. I was like, dude, that
company
is so dope.
Is real weird. They're not even allowed to sell their stuff in Mexico anymore. Did you see that? Yeah, so I guess he had a whole bunch of orders for all of his t-shirts and tank tops and all these things, and the Mexican government was like, we are not allowing you to sell that merchandise in our country. And so he had to like fight the Mexican government to get it exported back out of Mexico.
No way.
And almost lost like.
Was it just like regular branded Assholes Live Forever like t-shirts and stuff?
But had shit like that written on it, and they just would not allow it to be sold in Mexico.
Yeah, David said that came with as like a free gift with like a t-shirt or something. I was given a drug plate. It's pink and it says Assholes Live Forever, and it has like 4 straws or like metal straws, pink straws, and it's more gimmicky than anything because it doesn't work that well, but it has like little slots for where you put the lines.
That's so funny. Just straight gimmick.
And just Assholes Live Forever.
Oh
yeah, man. Speaking of like, you have companies like that just lean really heavily into debauchery,
and it works.
And it works for the people that want it, you know.
Literally all you're doing when you 100% act yourself is you're shrinking your group. That's it. You're just shrinking your buyer pool, your interest pool, and that's fine because those people will be loyal customers to you. Right. Clients, friends, viewers, subscribers, like all of them will stay with you if you stay on brand of who you are. And I think that's important. But to amass massiveness, you do have to toe the line. Yeah. Because then you appeal to so many more. Yeah. But it is funny, like you said, like it would suck. You make a whole bunch of money to hate what you're doing. And you hear those kind of stories with really successful people too, who are like, one day, I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, and
but you almost have to get to that level before you get to make that choice as well.
Right. Well, so one of my fears was I viewed it as it's kind of like somebody who gives. Yeah. So like, I'm poor. So I'll start giving back when I'm rich. Yeah. But those type people that just say I'll never give until I have enough money, they don't end up doing it. Yeah. And I thought about that because Michael was talking to me about, like, for example, Israel-Palestine. He's like, you're not affecting any change anyway, which is true. And I know this is true. However, so like voicing an opinion on that will not make a difference as your average citizen, right? So I do get that, but I'm like, but I feel strongly about that. And he's like, why don't you wait till you get a big platform and then you can voice your opinion? I'm like, yeah, but I won't then, because if I haven't been willing to do it the whole way up, then I'll have a massive platform and I'll be afraid to lose it. Yeah. And that's what happens. And like, I was listening to somebody talk about, like rappers and how they're like, you got to get your money right first and then you can affect change. But I think it was like Jay-Z had a song where it's just like, I dumb down my speech just so it's like, so more people listen to it, because if I were to say what I want to say, people won't listen to it or they'll get like shut down. So why would I do that? Yeah. So that'll happen. So I'm like, okay, so do I want a big platform just so I still have to censor myself? Well, so that's like the question in my mind this whole kind of time.
I think that probably the best formula is be as much true to yourself as possible with offending the least amount of people. Yeah. And if you can do that, you get the best of both worlds, genuinely. And like, I love Joe Rogan because he'll talk about drugs. He'll talk about the things that he's experimented with. Like, there's plenty of doctors and lawyers and judges that do cocaine. Like, that's a thing. And they'll never admit that except for in their crowd. But Joe Rogan wasn't going to go out there and just be all of that without get his money right and then continue more. Once you have your people, your crowd, everybody that like you, no matter what you want to talk about, I feel like you're going to keep the majority because they already like who you put out. Right. Just don't shit on them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Like, I mean, we talked about,
I get pissed off at every single, sorry to interrupt you, actor, musician, someone of influence that just leans so heavy into a very like controversial topic. Yeah. I'm like, you're so dumb. I legitimately think that. Yeah. You can voice your opinion on any topic, whether it is something as sensitive as Palestine and Israel, without being an asshat. Right. Yeah. Like you can. Yeah. And a lot of times I feel like it just goes way too far. And you're like, well, you did just lose me there. Right. Like I just am not interested in that. Yeah. because I want to have a conversation with anybody where they don't feel attacked, where I feel heard, but I'm also going to listen to you.
It's like that thing where people would, it was like during COVID where people would, on both sides would be like, oh, they're just sheep.
Yeah.
Like when you call everybody else that doesn't agree with your way of thinking sheep, you're just like disregarding them as humans. You're being like, oh, all you do is follow a narrative, even though that's what you're doing too. Yeah. And so, like if you're able to talk about something without being like, oh, if you disagree with me, you're stupid. Yeah. You know, like that's not how to, first off, not how to win over anyone.
I feel like there was not enough people that took debate in high school, and it shows. Like it
you
literally
debate in high school, and it shows.
It shows because every single person is gonna really ride in some topics very heavy. Yeah. And that's cool. You can do that. Right. But if you want to convince me, who's on the opposite side, riding really heavy on this topic, you and I have to find a middle ground. Right. Like there are so many everything almost is a controversial topic. Yeah. Like if it matters, if it's important, it's controversial. Yeah, exactly. And so you need to be able to communicate with the opposite ideology and say, a lot of that makes sense. These are the things that I disagree with. Here's why. What do you think about that? Yeah. Ask for them. What do you think about what I said to that? And then you can be like, oh man, it's a lot more gray than it is black and white. That's interesting. I didn't look at it that way. I know. And I didn't look at it your way. So like, can we agree to disagree, but recognize this is a problem that if enough people care about, we can solve it? Right.
Yeah. And so those kind of conversations, I don't want to like cut out completely from any of my narratives. And then there's topics like, for example, illegal drugs, like psychedelics. Yeah. Those kind of things. I mean, I do understand that there's certain people who are like, oh, he's talking about doing mushrooms. Yeah. Like that's offensive. But that, I feel like that's getting more rare and more rare. I mean, like that is part of like public discourse in a lot of large levels. Where, I mean, you have Elon Musk talking about it. You have, obviously Rogan and stuff, but it's not like even controversial.
We're still live.
I know. It is still live. We just lost the...
Let's get new tape.
We need new tape. Dude, you can be my assistant.
Yeah. We just have to do long strips so that you can double wrap and keep it there. Yeah. This camera like is super flattering when I stand there and I don't look like a fat shit. So love that. Thanks for the slimming black.
But yeah, so like when I because I'm pretty into psychedelics and I actually think it's good for the population. I think it should be legalized and whatever. So I'm like, I'm not going to not chirp. Awesome. Okay. Anyway, so I want to the last bit ask you about so you want to be a professional soccer coach.
Yes.
So I knew this maybe like 8 years ago, but I didn't know it right away when I was like bartending with you. Yeah. So Mick and I bartended together at 13th Street. Yep. And this was what, 9 years ago? 10 years ago?
Yeah, because I worked there almost 2 years. So it'd be 9 and 10 years ago. Yeah. Because Kara and I have been together for 8.
Yeah, because I knew you when you were single. Yeah.
Single, lonely.
Yeah, you're all, I haven't been laid in so long.
I'm just so
dude,
good,
I
boy.
remember, like, you're like, dude, I met this girl on Tinder and she literally turned it on, matched with me. We went on a date and turned it off and now we're dating.
Yeah, now we're married.
Yeah, and now we're married. I'm like, dude, that is the most nuts story. But
dude, you stole my heart, bro.
Yeah. And so, yeah, still married. Actually, speaking of 13th Street, Elise is about to get married.
I know. To Ross.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So her wedding is the same day as my buddy Ian's wedding. Yeah. My friend Emma's in both. She's pulling 2 weddings.
She's jumping.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. I'm like, do you need some Adderall?
Yeah. Do you need to get through that day?
But yeah, so, and then you like started doing real estate and then transitioned into that. But like when I talked to you later, I was like, oh, like that's not your like life goal. Yeah. So anyway, so you want to be a professional soccer coach?
So bad. Yeah. So bad.
Yeah. And you've been on this goal, or you've been off after this mission, how long?
Well, I'm going to be 38 in December. So I've been working at this since I was like 22, 23. Damn. Yeah. because I started coaching when I was 19, just young kids on all my free time when I wasn't playing. And then I coached my little brother's team, and then I coached some other young teams, and it was like a blast and loved it. And then when I got hurt, it was like, oh, guess what, kid? You're not going pro. So new plan. And I was like, okay, awesome. And that was a heartbreaker. And then I was just, how can I stay involved with the game? So even that other podcast I did, he was asking me, a good question, like, that's pretty profound when you did work your whole life because you wanted to be a pro player. And he was like, you hear that story a lot. And I was like, yeah, you hear that story way more than the people that made it. Is like something bad happened and you couldn't play anymore. And he was like, so how do you cope with that? And I was like, it was very sad. And for like quite a while.
What's quite a while? Like 6 months?
No. I mean, I was devastated about that for like 3 or 4 years. Oof. I had it in my head that I'll recover. I'm going to go through rehab. I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to be stronger, better, faster than I ever was. And nothing will hold me back. What's funny is like that story's touted in movies and everything. It's not reality. Like there's so many people when you get really fucked, you don't get a second try. And that was like, it took a long time to accept that reality. And the whole time was just like, how do I stay involved with the sport? Do I want to coach? Do I want to do like solo training? Do I want to try and be an agent? Like being a player agent would be sick because I have a good recognition of talent. I'd be like, yeah, I can help you land somewhere. And then I was like, okay, but I don't have those connections or that network to do that. So maybe I'll stick with coaching. I know the game at a very high level. So let's run that route. And the more I coached, then I was just like, I'm all in. And then it just took over my brain because when you play, you get, I wouldn't say it's one-dimensional, we'll call it two-dimensional. It's not 3D. Because 3D, I'm controlling the joystick of 11 versus 1, myself, and 2, the output would be like two-dimensional in your thought process of the game. And so that's where I just was like, yeah, I want to go all in. I want to help players succeed. Who knows if I'll like make it, but I won't stop till I do. It's kind of my thing. So I'm like, I guess that might be forever.
Yeah, do or dead.
Do or dead. And I love that though. And for me, 16 years in, I've got a lot of my coaching licenses I need done. I've got 4 left to go before I have a pro license. I do.
How long does 4 take?
4 years.
So like 4 for each or 4 for?
4 for to all of them. Okay. And that only depends on if life and time allows me to do it in 4 years straight, because each license is a year. Essentially, you got to hold it before you can go on the next.
And you still have to work.
Yeah, still got to work, still got to sell real estate, still got to keep coaching. You can't get those licenses without having a team to coach.
Right.
So that's what I think makes it hard for a lot of coaches if they want to go far, is like, I got to have a job, but I have to coach a team while I'm getting my license. And if I don't have 2 of those, I don't get my license.
And you have to have your wife and kids not hate you.
Yeah, while you're investing so much time. I mean, my wife is a saint because I feel like every coach's wife is a saint, because the amount of time it takes to be a good coach, it's not a little bit. Like, it just isn't. So I have to be really good at disconnecting that portion of my life when I'm around my family and friends. And boy, do I suck at it, because I'm always thinking about like, oh, what can we do different? Where can I play him? What did I fail at? Like, how can I be better? And those thoughts are just always intrusive in your head, like screaming at you. If you want to be good.
So you're like laying there after sex and she's like, what are you thinking about, baby? You're like, well, Jerry missed the fucking
EK. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that doesn't work out really well, does it?
It's not going to work well with your wife. Like, that's not going to work well. But it is one of those things. You have to have a big support group too. Like, something that is always in the back of my mind too is I have 3 kids. So it's like, me coaching takes time away from them. And it makes me miss stuff that I wouldn't miss if I didn't coach. And that's like a trade-off that I think a lot of coaches have to deal with. And I try my hardest to not miss as much as I can, because I also only get them as kids once. Right. And then they'll be adults and move on with their life, and I don't want them to hate me. So try and make everybody proud, try and be successful, chase the dream as far as it'll go. Yeah. And I'm already like so fucked because I'm American and like everyone thinks American coaches and soccer players are idiots and know nothing about the game. It's a joke. Like they straight up think, oh, you're from America? Oh, you fucking Yankee Doodle? Like you don't know shit about this game. And that sucks because it puts you behind the 8 ball. And
so you're American and you didn't play pro.
Yeah.
Both against you.
Yep. Yeah.
It just makes a greater story.
It does. And I have a few coaches that I look up to that had very similar stories with extreme success. There's way less of them. But I've been in that pro environment. So it's like, just because I didn't get to fucking play doesn't mean I don't know what I'm doing. Doesn't mean that I didn't play for 23 years before I blew my fucking knee out. Like I know the game at a very high level. And so I'm always like, just if you doubt me, then you put me in an environment where I'll succeed, I'll win every time. And like, I always sit there and go, if I could recruit all the players that I wanted to recruit, I probably wouldn't lose. I genuinely believe that. That sounds arrogant and cocky, but you have to believe in yourself. You have to. And you have to believe that you're not a fucking idiot and that you can help people and like teach them how you want them to play. That's hard.
Well, that's
a lot of talking.
But that's a big, I mean, that's one of the things that inspires me about you, but because that's like the path I'm on, and it's just persistence will beat almost anyone else if you have long enough. Yeah. So
you have to have longevity.
Right.
You do.
Like if you like the people that don't succeed most times is they fizzle out, they quit at some point. And I mean, I can understand the struggles and like I have my pauses and like this is my first podcast back, but I'm going to keep going. You know, it's just
like, and you won't stop.
So the people that stop eventually, if you stop, well, of course you're not going to do it. But if you just keep doing it, I could be 70. And if I'm doing it, eventually it's going to like catch.
It'll pop off. Well, it's like, you know, for me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but like for me, I feel like your podcast, your communication, what you're trying to build is open communication with anybody and everybody that you can talk to learn something, to be inspired, to laugh, to like whatever it is, you know, and that's what it comes across as, which that is a think tank essentially at all times. Yeah. And like those kind of people, like I look at Jordan Peterson, he was much older before he like popped off and became popular, but he'd been a college professor and talking to kids for fucking 40 years before he ever got his chance to go viral on something. And then people were like, oh, you're actually intelligent and worth listening to.
Right.
You know, if he had stopped being like, you know what, I don't want to be a college professor anymore, he would never have the impact and like the community and following that he does, which would be a bummer. You know, I feel like Joe Rogan's the same. He's so funny and just ridiculously vulgar at times and has the craziest fucking people on his show, but all of them are interesting and intriguing to somebody and they might need to hear those messages. You're the same boat. Like whoever, you could put somebody on here that everyone watching is like, damn, connect with that guy. How do I find him more? How do I hear him more? Right. You know, and thanks for putting on a dope podcast. I want to get on your show. Yeah. Like you don't get those chances if you stop.
Right. Exactly.
At all.
Yeah. And this, I mean, so with you chasing, it was just like that, I guess, just commitment to never giving up, you know, because obviously you're going to have the hurdles, you're going to have the unforeseen challenges, the setbacks, like, oh fuck, like, should I continue? But like, you just ignore that shit and just keep going.
Well, and I watch so many podcasts, read so many books. Everything that I do is about soccer, which is probably annoying to a lot of people around me. But I'm inspired by people that have those kind of stories. You know, there's a coach in England for Arsenal, and I watched a whole documentary on his team. And even though I hate that team, I'm like, you're a well-respected coach. You were a great player. It's fun to listen to you talk. And he was talking about all of the hate media that he was getting in his first 2 years. And his wife and kids would be like, are you sure you want to go out like in public? Are you sure you want to do that press conference today? I can't even look at the newspaper today because of the things they're saying about my husband, their dad, like, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, I mean, if you're good, people are going to hate you. And if you're great, people are going to love you and hate you even more. And so you have to develop thick skin, which requires a lot of failures because you have to know how to dust yourself off.
Yeah. So you're not going to develop that unless you're failing the whole way up. Yeah.
And I've always liked the process fail forward. Like, you just have to learn how to do it, and you're going to have bumps and bruises along the way. Like, and you might bleed out a couple times too. Like, there's going to be those moments as well. I've been a coach and been slapped in a game like 12-0. I've been like, I fucking suck at what I do. I need to definitely have somebody else coach this team. What was that? Like, I've had those moments. And then I've also slapped some teams and been like, bitch, what? Yeah. And it feels good. So you have to have both. You got to have both.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. And you have to remember there's other people that are in your life that are on that journey with you. Yeah. And like, you might be coaching and loving it, but like, your family might hate it if you're struggling. Like, yeah. It would be so hard for them because they want to defend you and they can't say anything.
Yeah. Well, you told me that earlier this year when your wife was just like, I'm going to need you to sell some houses. Yeah. Literally. You're like, I swear I will.
Yes. Yep. Well, and it's funny because until I make it, I have this whole other version of myself that I got to put into the public and sell real estate and help. It's definitely not what I want to do, but it helps pay the bills and It helps me be an accountable husband. And like, you just got to do what you got to do. Yeah. And if I were to stop, I can tell you, like, if I were to stop coaching today and it was just like real estate, I'd be like, this is a bummer for the rest of my life. Like, I would not love that. Yeah. And so that's another thing that just keeps me going every day. Figure out a way to be better.
Yeah, I've thought about that so much. My buddy Jeremy, he plays music, and I'm like, man, sometimes it's just so fucking hard because we're doing all these, like, we want to do these different art forms. We want to work on our craft. We want to put this stuff out. But I have so much shit going on, plus like paying my bills, plus my relationships, plus like trying to chase art. Like, you have to dedicate the time for this. Like, and I'm like, dude, sometimes I'm like envious of those people that don't have an ambition and a goal. And they're just like, yeah, I just work and I go home and I chill. But
I could never be that person.
Yeah, me neither. I'm like, when I think about it, I'm like, dude, if I was that, I would just be like, dude, this is my life. It's all I do. Like,
what a bummer.
Yeah. So I'm not that person. I mean, props to the people that are, like, because if you're very happy with just a simple life of like whatever they're doing, that's great. My middle sister's like that. And just, we just work, we go home, we hang out with our kids, we cook, we clean,
Could you be a trust fund baby?
I mean, I would still have to do something.
Same. Like I've thought about that.
I wouldn't mind having the money, but like I would be a different person for sure. But
I would be so ambitious. And if you had that kind of head start, like I think about the things I could do with that kind of head start, where if I could be like, I'm literally going to dive all in and I'm going to go coach and travel. My wife's going to stay in an awesome place and travel with me, but I'm going to be all in. I could expedite the process so much faster. Yeah. Because I would literally fly to Asia. Any pro teams over here want me to bring me in. Fly to, the UK, fly to Spain, anywhere where it's like, there's a job opening, come check it out. Done, I'm on the next plane. Yeah. Like, I'll be there and I'll interview for it and I'll try. And it's like, but I still would be doing the same dream. Yeah. If I have multi-millions of dollars, I'd probably buy a fucking couple soccer teams. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But I would still keep trying to coach.
Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah. I could never coach a team I owned either. Yeah. Like thinking about that. Couldn't do that.
I've thought about even with I'm like, dude, I could sell my house and net.
Live in a van down by the river.
I could probably live for 4 years, maybe 5 on the money that I made. Like if I decided right now to do it. And then if I did a podcast 4 days a week, hired an editor, like I would be so much faster to it. But I also am like, dude, this house is like, I mean, I've talked to people about this and like, dude, this is like one of your most secure investments. Don't like do everything you can to not do that. And I'm like, I mean, maybe, but like, or I could just go all in.
Oh, God damn.
I mean, I would still have to rent a studio, like, cause then I wouldn't have this. Yeah. So that's part of the benefit of this. Yeah. And then I also like, I'm like, well,
or you don't, and you have a 2-bedroom shitty apartment and you paint the second room really nice and make it look like this.
But then I am like then paying more money per month, like it's like I have a roommate. So I still have a good setup. You do. But there is options where you're like, ooh, I could do that.
And go all in.
But
all in is really scary.
It is. And I have a good setup where I can at least do it once a week now if I get my timing right. But I'm like, in the next year, I have to get to a point where I'm doing 2 or 3 a week. Yeah. Because this is a long game and I need to be putting in the reps.
You do.
For years and years.
You do.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny because you had just said, what is the most common thread of every successful person I look up to? Everyone around him said, slow your roll. Don't do that. That might not work. Are you sure? Questioning every step. And those successful people said, you know what? You can all shut the fuck up. I got one life and I'm going to go all in. Yeah. And you got to have some big cojones to freaking do it. But I don't see people go all in on themselves and bet 100% on themselves and fail. I don't see those stories. Yeah. I don't even know if
did you ever watch the movie The Gambler? It's Mark Wahlberg.
No, but I heard it's incredible.
It's
actually
so good. And his without giving away the whole movie, but he's just like he doesn't even gamble on odds. I mean, he just goes, it's just like red or black or whatever, puts all his money all on red, wins. He's like, double it up. And they're like, yeah, but the odds are like, and he'll lose and stuff. But he's like, life is too short. He's like, you need to go all in. He's like he's like a professor and he's like, only one of you, he's like, none of you are going to make it except for you. Like this is the only kid who has a chance. So he needs to go all in on it. Like the rest of you, what are you guys doing? You're just here in this class for blah, blah, blah.
I might just have to go watch that movie today.
It's so good, dude.
Well, and it's funny too, because that's how I bet on the roulette table is I've gone to Vegas so many times now and roulette's my favorite. And I'll sit on those fucking tables till 6 a.m. if I have to. And the last few times over the last few years, I'd watch dickheads walk up and they'd like grab $200 chips and be like, black. And I'm like sitting there going, I've got a $10, $20 bet out there. And I'm like, he just put $200 on one bet. Yeah. And then they're like, black. And he's like, sweet, $400. Walks to the next table. And I'm like, dude, he just made $400 and I made 40. Yeah. And so the last few times I've gone, I've made a decent chunk of change in the 2 nights I'm there because I'm like, I just need to go all in. Yeah. Fuck. Just pull it out, get your thumb out of your butt and make a bet.
But there is, I mean, like
but you will lose. Yeah. You lose big or you win big.
Yeah. And
I love win big, bro.
Right. No shit.
Like big fan.
Yeah. I mean, even now, like, fuck if I know if I'll do that. Like but yeah, that's still like a thought. I'm like, okay, how many more could I do if I didn't have to focus on work, if I could just talk?
You should do the math on it.
Yeah.
You should. And see if you're worth the bet. Because I think you're worth the bet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, so you still need like your from your more safe perspective, it's like, oh yeah, well you still have your fault. Like if everything else fails, you still have your house. Yeah. Versus if you're more like, nope, all in. And my buddy Luke would like tell me that, like, he's just like, dude, he's like, I don't invest in real estate. Yeah. I didn't invest in the stock market. He's like, everything goes to my business. Yeah. He's like, he's like, I'm betting on myself the whole way, and all the money we make back to the business. Cause you're just.
Well, and it's kind of funny now because I like David Goggins and so many people make fun of him and memify him right now. And I think it's just cause he rubs people the wrong way a little bit. But still, one of my favorite things that he says, that kind of came from the SEAL team world was like, who's going to carry the boats? And I just think about that. Like, if you don't go all in, you got a ton of people to carry the boats and it's no big deal. But if you have forward focus, then it's just like, who's going to carry them? Because we're all this direction. Fuck the boats. Like, burn them. Burn them on the beach because we got to go. And if you do that, I feel like the odds are so much higher of you succeeding because you are now competing with so few people. Mm-hmm. Because how many people are going to go all in? Right. Like, the mass majority of the general public's not. Yeah. They're not. They're going to take the safe route.
And you don't have any other options at that point.
Like, I just don't believe in it at all. And I mean, that could bite me in the ass someday. Who knows? I could be just fucking crazy. But
I mean, I've thought about and then it's just like, well, what happens if you lose everything? It's like, well, I go live on my sister's couch,
Bummer for me, womp womp. Right. But I try again. Yeah. How about the people that have millions of dollars and they fucking lose it and then they're like, I'm going to make it back in a year. Yeah. And they do.
They do.
Because they're not stupid and they go all in. Because once you know how to succeed, it's a repeatable process. Yeah. And I don't think enough people have experienced any form of success to know, oh, that's replicable. Right. Like, you can do it again and you can do it again. And you just have to have the personality type that's like, if I fail, I can still get back up because I know how to at least get to there. I need to reach the next benchmark.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
Yeah, dude. We got many and many years.
Yes.
All right, dude. And I gotta get going.
Yeah. I had so much fun.
Yeah. You gotta plug anything? Your team?
So now I gotta go watch my daughter's volleyball game.
All right.
And then I gotta make a team dinner. I gotta make spaghetti for 20 dudes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm not Italian.
But how do you say your last name? Dulhanty. Mick Dulhanty. Okay.
You're sweet, bro. Thanks for having me. So much fun.
Nobody.